Welcome back to Lying by Golf, the podcast exploring the journeys of people lying by the game. I'm your host Ross McGuire, and today's episode is a special one, as I'm joined by Andrew Murray, European Tour winner, broadcaster and someone who's seen the game from every angle. We talk about his win at the European Open, the reality of life on tour and the journey it took him to get there, from Monday qualifying to competing alongside the likes of Seve, Faldo, Woosnam and Lyle. But more than that, this is about perspective, how his relationship with golf has evolved over time and what the game really gives you beyond results. Let's get over to Andrew. Andrew Murray, thanks for joining the podcast. I really appreciate it. Great to see you.
Well, it's really good to see you and meet you, and always a pleasure. No, I love talking about golf, so crack on.
Yeah, I'm going to read out some names, Andrew. I'm going to start with Sandy Lyle, David Ferty, Roger Davis, Ross Drummond, Russell Claydon, Ian Woosnam, Craig Parry, Sam Torrance, Frank Nobilo, and that was 9 names out of the top 10 in the Panasonic European Open. And right at the top was you. So how do you feel when you think back to that day or that week? Of course, it was a full week, but what memories come back for you when you think about it now?
Listen, it gives me goosebumps for a start. And funnily enough, I'm in my study recording this with you, and I'm surrounded by one massive picture, which Walton Heath gave me of me holding the winning putt, which of the ball just about to go in the hole from 2 and a bit feet, I suppose. So it's always, listen, it's never far away from me, really. I've got very fond memories. I can remember the 6-iron hit into the last, 176 to the flag, 183 to the back of the green. You know, I can remember all those details, and I remember hitting it. I remember pulling it a little bit, but not much. And it was dead flag eye to 12 feet or something. So, yeah, it was a special week, and it's a special golf course, and it was a special event way back. It was only probably third in the European Tour to the PGA and the Open. European Masters and the European Open held a 5-year exemption on the tour in those days, and so it was. Yeah, it was a big tournament. It was a big money tournament. It was a very prestigious tournament. Always had a fantastic field. Always had a great sponsor. We alternated between Walton Heath one year and Sunningdale the next. So there's probably not 2 better venues inland venues in the country than those 2. So it was a pretty big deal. Yeah, obviously massive deal for me. Obviously, but it was a bit of a pro, but I was a decent average tour player, I suppose.
You were flushing it in what the footage that I saw, and it was, you've got that brilliant footage on your website linked to YouTube, and it's just awesome to hear Peter Alice, and he's got these little quips, and yeah, and he actually talks about your last shot where you said you pulled it a little bit. I mean, you literally were 10 feet to the left of the flag, but I think another foot left and it was in real danger. So what a shot though to take on at the end.
Yeah, in truth, Ross, it was about 3 yards from the bunker on the pitch, and it looks on TV like it was about a foot away, and it wasn't really. But so it was no doubt a bit of a pull, but it was a pretty flushed pull. So wind off the right, it was suited my game really. It was it was a proper shot, proper tee shot as well. I remember nutting the tee shot. I had it just past Frank Nobilo, who was a really good player. He was a winner on tour and top 10 or 20 player in those days as well. So I remember hitting it past him off, and he hit a 5-iron in, I hit 6-iron in. So it was, yeah, I can remember like it was yesterday almost.
And then during the tournament, when did you realise that you might actually win? When did you get to that point, or did it never really come to your mind?
No, I led after the one. I think I was tied the lead after one round with Peter Fowler, I think. Then I shot a really nice second round early in the morning. I had 2 or 3 putts for 68, and then really difficult conditions Saturday. So I was leading after 2. I was leading after 3. I was 5 clear with 3 to play in the third round. Made a bit of a dodgy finish. So I was leading by 2 or 3, I think, in the going into the final round. Never thought about winning at all. Genuinely, I was trying to put it out of my mind. And I remember stood on the 16th tee, and I hit it was my honour. I was 1 in front with 5 to play, 1 in front with 4 to play, 1 in front with 3 to play. And I hit a beautiful tee shot down 16. And I remember putting the club back in the bag and looking at Frank Nobilo, thinking, and I'd seen a scoreboard on the previous green and said, I remember saying to myself, "Right, it's between me and you." And, that was the first time I'd given it any sort of thought. We both bogeyed 15 because it was 16, sorry, 'cause it was a really difficult hole, unreachable almost into the wind. And then I played 17th beautifully, really rock solid par 3, and then 2 nice shots into the last, and he was 50 feet and I was about 12, so, yeah, I genuinely didn't think I was gonna win until he'd missed the 50-footer. And then I remember my caddy saying to me, saying, "You've got 2 putts for it." I said, I swore under my breath slightly at him and said, "Yeah, I know that." And then I managed to hit it 2.5 feet past it, sort of went off in my hands a bit really, but, I lost the slope a bit really because I was down in the bunker looking at the line, and I was still trying to hold the putt. I mean, when did you last try and leg it up from 12 feet? Probably never. So, it was not the sort of thing you do, is it? So, and I just mishit it a little bit and ran it past a bit further than anybody would have wanted to, and managed to whack it straight in. So when I see when I see the video of it, and I see the way I knock it in to hole it to win it, I'm really proud of the fact that I did that because it was completely autopilot. And if anyone had just stopped me and said, "Hang on a minute, take your time, son. This could change your life. Take your time. Whoa, 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 what?" Anyone had put anything in my head other than I'd done that for years on tour. I was a decent holer out, and I marked the ball, turned the logo facing the hole, and whacked it in. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, what a way to finish. And you mentioned the exemptions and stuff, Andrew, but what did it change anything for you in terms of your wider golf career, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, massive, massive change because you perhaps don't know, but I had a underlying hip condition, um, and I was told I'd missed the qualifying in a playoff for the Open in '89. I think that was true, was it? And I'd come home in real pain. I was really struggling to play. I played the Scottish Open the previous week. Played all 4 rounds. I played 2 rounds in qualifying, and then 6 holes in sudden death to get into the Open and didn't get in, so drove home in agony, and saw my consultant the following day, and he said, "We need to scan this." And he X-rayed me, and he said, "Andrew," he said, "you're gonna have to think about something else to do." He said, "Have you seen this? Look at the difference between this was 6 months ago and this is now." And that was the Tuesday, I think maybe even the Wednesday of the Open Championship, which I wasn't then playing in. And, well, that was a bit of a shock, yeah. And he put me on some medication, which really helped take the inflammation away a little bit. And I suppose the rest is history. I managed to play for another 4 or 5 years, which I was destined not to do, really. Um, so yeah, and the fact that I won whatever it was 2 months later was ridiculous, really. Yeah, so it was what it did, Ross, was enable me to plan my year a little bit more carefully. Um, I milked it a little bit, obviously, because I got an invite to play in Japan, and then I went over to play in the phenomenal experience. I was the only Englishman there, so raising the flag of St George over the first tee before the first tee shot was hit was phenomenal. Yeah, it was really proud moment, and so yeah, never really played great after that. I played fits and starts, but the week after I played the Lankham Trophy, which I wasn't otherwise exempt for, so I'd got myself in that, and all of a sudden, I was in that. The following day, funnily enough, I was playing in Peter Alice's Pro-Am the following day, and Peter Alice was commentating, and then I remember going into the scorer's tent saying, "Do you think I can pull out of the Pro-Am tomorrow?" And Jenny said, "You've got to be kidding me. You can't pull out of Peter's Pro-Am." So I said, "Yeah, okay, I suppose that was right." So I went down with my wife and my youngest, and then we only had one child, and went down to Ferndown and played, and Peter made a big fuss of me, and so did all the celebrities guys down there. I remember Henry Cooper giving me a big hug, um, and all the celebs of that era. Jimmy Tarbuck made a fuss of me and stuff, and it was fantastic. I was on cloud nine, and I shot 62, I think. Yeah, I did. I think I shot
Wow.
62. In fact, I've got the card there. 62. It's on my wall.
Bet you were glad you went then.
So I shot 62, won by about 5 shots from Hugh Bioki. and then what obviously, that was
My
a bit more
goodness.
money, and then I got exemption to the, Lankham Trophy, which is a limited field event, because 'cause I'd gone up to the top 30 or whatever it was in the order of merit, and I shot 64 in the first round to lead by 2 from Nick Faldo and Curtis Strange.
My
I remember
goodness.
Faldo saying to me as I walked to the press conference after the round, and he just turned his head and went, "Nice round." "Oh, thanks, Nick." And, yeah, that was a bit surreal, really. And, and then what do you think I shot in the next round, by the way? Having won the European Open on the Sunday, I shot 62 on the Monday, went over to Lankham and shot 64.
It clearly wasn't as low as you'd have liked it to be, so I'm gonna go with, like, 74, something
Yeah,
like that.
it was plenty more. I shot 78. And
Well,
I suppose just a reaction. I played with Sam Torrance, and Mark McNulty, so I was up, with the big guns. And, but I shot 65, 68 to finish 5th or 6th or 7th, thereabouts. So it was pretty tasty finish. Another few bob, a bit further up the order of merit, and, got into Valderrama and, yeah, played pretty good for a while after that.
absolutely. And we've jumped, I guess, right into a great part of your career, Andrew, but how did it begin? How did you get into golf? What got you hooked?
Just started. I was decent. I was probably a decent sportsman, I suppose. At school, I was decent. I was in captain the football team. I was never very good at rugby because I was too much of a wimp. I was a fast runner, so I was on the athletics team. I was a good cricketer, spin bowler. Played Lancashire. I played all the sort of local standard boys stuff, and then I was just better at golf, I suppose. By the time I was 14 or so, I was playing off about 7 or 8. I used to caddy for my dad down at Didsbury Golf Club, where I still play occasionally. In fact, I still play regularly. Yeah, just became a bit better at golf than the rest, really. It was never the sharpest tool in the box, I suppose, in terms of academically. My brother was, and my sister was fairly, but I think I got the brains in my hands. And yeah, turned pro 16. Wanted to be an assistant pro. All I wanted to be was like the club pro at Didsbury, a guy called Brian Neild, who was my
Right,
mentor and guide. And if he taught me when I was 10 or 11, and I finished up being his assistant when he'd moved up to Bramwell Golf Club in Cheshire. So, yeah, I went up to join him on my 16th birthday. Well, actually, it's a day after my 16th birthday. Left school with one Woodwork O-Level and went as an apprentice pro. So, proper old school journey, really, and then won a few things in assistants leagues and assistants championships and stuff like that. And the tour was really right in its infancy then. Uh, Being tour players division as it was then was just making um, a split from the PGA as it was, because it was all in one. European Tour wanted to go in a different under a different guise, and so that whole journey began, and that's where I met John Parrymore and George O'Grady and co. When I went to the first tour school in at Fox Hills.
If you've been enjoying the show, please do remember to follow on your favourite podcast platform and share it with a friend. Now let's get back to the pod.
wow. And you're
Yeah,
some of the people you've come across in your career, Andrew, is phenomenal. Like you mentioned John Parrymore there and
yeah.
O'Grady,
Uh,
that's phenomenal that you were
Yeah,
there
I mean,
right at the start.
they were the 3 guys alongside, Ken Schofield who effectively started the European Tour. And a really good friend of mine, John Jacobs, was sort of grandfather. He basically brokered the deal between the PGA and the European Tour to make the European Tour Players Division, as it was known then, into what we know now as the, DP World Tour. It was PGA European Tour. So,
Right.
yeah, that whole split needed brokering. It needed a diplomat to do it, and John was the man.
Wow. And then in terms of your progression, so you mentioned as an assistant you started winning events. How long was it then before you started playing in the European Tour against these guys and
Uh,
competing with them?
for my tour card, I think it was 77, and I think Sandy Lyle won. can't remember, at the 77, 78 maybe. I remember Sandy Lyle won the first one. David Russell was going well, and he finished first or second in one of the early ones. Ian Woosnam missed his card for the first couple of years. Barry Lane also had several goes at the tour school before he got a category and became a world championship winner. So it was probably 3 or 4 years before I probably had a card and kept a card. And then that was just at the time where the tour became all exempt. So it was Monday qualifying. We used to go on a Monday. I had a caravan which I parked at the back of a club.
You had
in
a
the
caravan? Brilliant.
And with a pal of mine, Dave Screeton, and we used to try and qualify on a Monday. And if we didn't qualify on a Monday, you were back at the club practicing or playing in a pro-am. So that was Monday qualifying, and that soon became the all-exempt tour. So the first 125 players in the tour became all-exempt and didn't have to do that Monday qualifying. So that was I don't know, early 80s probably.
I need to ask if you get any caravan stories, any disasters or funny moments in the
I've got
caravan.
plenty of caravan stories. Some of which I could share and some of which I can't.
Is there any you could share then?
We were fishing alongside Loch Earn in Scotland, playing in what was the Double Diamond Championship, which became the Scottish Championship, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, the Double Diamond was played at Gleneagles, and we qualified, and I can't remember the course I qualified on. Anyway, I qualified at a nearby course. I tried to qualify at a nearby course, and my pal was a keen fisherman. Excuse me. And we went down, we parked up near Loch Earn in a caravan site, went fishing, and then he dropped the caravan keys off the jetty into the water. So he came back with a couple of fish, but no keys to get in the caravan.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we've had a few. And then we went to play a tournament once where we were going up this steep hill. It was in Bristol somewhere, for the under-25s championship. My car, who was towing this caravan, wasn't powerful enough to get the car and the van up the hill. So it was somewhere like Cleve Hill in Bristol somewhere. So we had to unhitch it, turn the caravan round, turn the car around, hold the traffic up, and go back down the hill and find another route to the club. Yeah, there's the
Brilliant.
good old days of European Tour. And Woosnam was doing something similar. He had a caravan, he had a VW Caravanette with a couple of pals of his. Joe Higgins was one of them, and it was an adventure. That's what it was, and it was, I was no idea that I was going to win the European Open 5 years later, but or 10 years later, whatever it was.
Did you ever take the caravan abroad? Because I've heard stories about Woozy taking that VW into
No, I
like
never took
Spain
the
and Germany and stuff.
Yeah, I never took the caravan abroad. No, I wasn't that competent at reversing it with the caravan attached. I got quite good, but I wasn't very. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
And during that time, I mean, it's great you've had all that fun, but there must have been some tough times as well before you won the European Open.
No,
So
I mean, I was.
what was it like going through that?
Some people say to me, you've done well. I don't think I've done well particularly. I've won a tournament. I've won a few tournaments, but not only once on the main tour. But those years, the first 10 years, I didn't make a bean of money. I don't to this day know how I managed to put fuel in the car and rent a flat in Manchester and do what I did, because it was literally hand to mouth. And when you look at the record books, and I do occasionally, I won £2,000 in 1983. How did I exist on £2,000 winnings and two bob
My
playing in the odd
goodness.
pro-am?
Wow.
You just did all sorts of jobs. I had jobs in the winter to keep me going, and played in Africa. And playing the safari tour in Africa was the thing that changed Ian Woosnam's career and kept a lot of us, gave a lot of us a chance to make a bit of money in Africa before we came back on the tour and blew it all again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So did you go down there in winter effectively and,
Yeah,
and try
we
and
did
earn some cash?
We did 6 weeks onto West Africa, into Nigerian Open, then a pro-am before that, then the Ivory Coast Open in West Africa, and obviously in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, and then it went over Trans-Africa. I remember getting the Ethiopian Airways overnight from Abidjan in the Ivory Coast over to Kenya. to play the Kenyan Open. Then we played from the Kenyan Open, we played in the Zambian Open from there. Then we went down to Zimbabwe and played the Zimbabwe Open, and then came home.
Wow.
Fantastic days. There were 30, 40 British, mainly British golf pros traveling over there, all getting burnt and inappropriate with the gear they were wearing and all that stuff. It was a bit daft, really. But it was if it wasn't for the Europe for that safari tour, Ian Woosnam wouldn't have made the breakthrough he did, because
That's incredible.
he won a Range Rover or something for finishing third in one tournament and longest drive or nearest the pin or something, or a hole in one or something. I think it was a hole in one, and he won a Range Rover, which was £15,000 or £18,000 going back in the day, and that funded his European tour. And the next year he's finishing third.
My goodness, that's incredible.
He and I actually, looking at he and I's career, Woosnam was 93rd, I was 94th. He was 91st, I was 93rd or whatever. For 2 years, we were to-ing and fro-ing in the 90s. And then he went to third and I stayed at 103. Yeah. Yeah. And then he went to fourth and I stayed at 104 or something. Yeah. So it was literally making two bob.
You've mentioned Woosnam, and there's others there as well. I guess he impressed you, but who impressed you the most when you were playing with him, or is there a few names that
I
really
think,
stood out?
well, Seve was probably the most impressive, because Seve was God, wasn't he? And he was an inspiration to us all because of the way he played, B, some of the shots he hit were off the charts ridiculous, good and bad, of course. So Seve was unbelievable. Faldo for his mentality, and probably Langer for his mentality, and he's a gentleman, absolute gentleman to play with, and a phenomenal workhorse. But the two most talented, I'd say, Woosnam and Lyle, were the two that really stand out. They were absolutely outstanding. And when Aborg was leading the recent Players' Championship, I think I was on 5 Live, and I'd said that Aborg reminds me of Ian Woosnam and Tom Watson rolled into one. He
Yeah,
plays without any fuss whatsoever. He doesn't take much time over the ball. He pulls the trigger quickly. He plays briskly. He's got that beautiful, crisp swing like Woosnam was, and like Tom Watson was. It was a very repetitive, crisp rhythm to his game, and yeah, it really impressed me. Woosnam was a phenomenal player.
absolutely. And you mentioned broadcasting there, so how did you get into the broadcasting? What happened
Yeah,
to take you there?
this year is going to be my 35th on Radio 5 Live.
My
But Radio
goodness.
5 Live hasn't been existing that long, but it was Radio 2 back in the day. And
Yeah.
I got a call from a broadcaster called Renton Laidlaw, very famous broadcaster
Yeah, I know
called
that
Renton
name.
Laidlaw. Renton
Yeah.
Laidlaw's a Scottish guy who you might know. And he phoned me up. I'd not qualified for the 91 Open at Birkdale, and Birkdale's half an hour from where I live, 40 minutes.
Right.
And he said, we need someone for Radio 2 to do some summarising. Would you be interested in doing it? He said, you've got a great reputation. You're a winner. We can hang the hat on the, you're a former European Open champion now, Andrew, so we can use that. And so I said, yeah, I'll do the weekend. I did the weekend for them. I'd never done broadcasting, never broadcasted before, and I was thrown out with one of the commentators, and just was asked to give my views on what was in front of me. And I said, have you got any tips? He said, just tell us what you see. And don't forget, every listener is blind. That's the only thing he told to me. He said, just be yourself. You see, you've got a great voice. You know the game. Tell us what you see. And don't forget, everybody that's listening to us is blind. So if a player's got red trousers on, tell us. If he's got white shoes and everything else, tell us. Because don't forget, it's not a TV audience, it's a radio audience. So if people driving down the motorway, don't leave any silences, because people will start retuning. Just tell us what's in front of you, and when we want you to shut up, we'll tell you to shut up.
And what was it like to commentate in the game versus playing? at that
Yeah,
time?
it was
And now, of
really
course.
nerve-wracking at first, really nerve-wracking, because when you look at when you see the listening numbers now, we get big listening numbers to Five Live on a Sunday afternoon for the Open and Saturday afternoon for the Open Championship. And, of course, if World Service join us, which sometimes they do, then it's proper global audience. Um, and if you thought about the audience you were broadcasting to, you probably would be you wouldn't get words out. And occasionally, I don't. You get tongue tied a bit, and I've made some serious faux pas with a microphone, live microphone. But I've been all over the place with Five Live, and been to the US Masters about half a dozen times, and several Ryder Cups, and the US Open at Pebble, and saw Tiger win at Pebble by 13 or 15 shots, whatever it was, back in 2000. That was a phenomenal experience to broadcast on that. So yeah, I've been dead lucky, and the fact that I've done it for so long means I've not qualified for the last 35 Opens. I suppose that's
And
the only way I can put it.
were you trying to qualify in a lot of those years as well?
To be fair, I tried in 91, missed, and I must have tried 92, 93, 94. 95 I finished playing, so I probably didn't qualify for those 4 or 5. But it's hard qualifying for the Open in those days. It was, immediately after the Scottish Open, immediately the 2 rounds after the Saturday finish of the Scottish Open, it was on the Sunday and Monday. And so if you'd played the Scottish Open for a week and then were straight into final qualifying, you didn't have a practice round or anything else on the courses. You were straight in, and I was lucky. I did qualify for 2 or 3, but I never did any good in them.
Remember I actually went up to Open qualifying, must have been for a St Andrews Open, I would guess, and I was looking at the leaderboard, someone that I knew was playing. So I've kind of wandered up to this leaderboard looking for a name, and I look up at the top, and I'm reading, because it had, for the top guys that were leading, had all their scores, and I looked, and Mark McNulty shot 61. I'm like, wow, that's some score round leaving. I started with a 6. I'm not joking. So
At leaving.
I started double bogey, then I think he birdied 7 or 8 in a row to be out in about 29. And I'm like, what is going on? And that was phenomenal, seeing those types of scores around a place like Leaving, and just considering that Marvin McNulty is just such a great player, but to see it just getting there and looking at what the other guys were scoring, I think he was leading by like 3 or 4. It was phenomenal
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, there's always some terrific scoring done at Open qualifying from some really good players. But yeah, so I got into the broadcasting going that way and did okay. I must have done okay and didn't qualify the year after. So I commentated on Faldo winning at Muirfield the year after, and then off the top of my head, I don't know where we were the year after that. 93, certainly I was at Turnberry 94 for Nick Price. So yeah, been done some really good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you went back to playing, no, Mark? So you went back to seniors tour. So
Yeah, I
how did
sort of
that go?
I did it a bit half-heartedly, really. I'd created a corporate business back here in Cheshire, so I was
Right.
travelling and doing all sorts of stuff with corporate in the corporate world. And I was 50. I was injured, actually. I had a knee surgery, so I couldn't play the first year. So I got a medical exemption for the year after and played. And I played all right, mostly, to be fair. I didn't putt as well as I used to putt, and I played better than I probably played better than I scored, or I felt I played better than I scored. Um, I had some mixed results, really. I had some good results. I should have won the PGA up at Slaley Hall. Didn't really put well enough in the final round. Should have won in Spain against Carl Mason, and he birdied the last, and I didn't. I bogeyed it, in fact, and it was just didn't quite run. The ball didn't quite bounce for me. You know what I mean? It was just not quite. I wasn't quite on it. I was finishing 4th or 5th a few times, and then finishing 30th, and I didn't want to finish 30th because we were making 0 money, and it was I was only wanted to play if I was going to be competitive, and then I played for 7 or 8 years on and off, and then I still kept my exemption, and then I lost my exemption. This guy said, one of the tour guys said to me, "Are you going to go to the tour school?" I said, "No, I'm absolutely done. I can't be bothered. That's me done." He said, "Why don't you just go to the tour school?" He said, "There's 5 tour cards. You only need to win one of them." And I went back home, and my son was then playing a bit. He was a fantastic player, Tom. And I said, one of the guys at the tour thinks I ought to go and try and go to tour school and go and try and win it. And he said, "Well, why don't we? I'll caddy for you." So I said, "Okay, well, I'm only going to go if I take the big bag and think I'm Billy Big Balls. I'm not going to go and carry the bag with a pencil bag." And I said, "We're going to go as big cheeses, and let's just give it the real confidence of." So he said, "Right, I'm up for that." So we took the big bag. Hardly anybody had a big bag playing the tour school. They were all carrying the bags or putting them on power caddies and skinflinting right, left, and centre. And anyway, I was 58 and went and won it, which was ridiculous.
Wow.
I won it by 2. I think I was the oldest winner at that time. And that was such a thrill to play. And I played really nicely. I played great all 4 days. And I don't think I missed a shot hardly for 4 days. And Tom was rightly very, very proud of his old fella and the way he won and all that stuff. So to have Tom on the bag was phenomenal. So I did play the following year, but I was trying to run a corporate business at the same time as, getting over to playing the Travis Perkins Masters on the Thursday and doing a corporate gig somewhere on the Tuesday was hard. And I was playing against people that were full-time players, and I had a full-time business. I was employing 3 or 4 people. So it didn't quite work out, but I don't regret it. I don't regret having a go because it was great.
And what a great memory as well to have your son in the bag and do that and win the tour school.
Yeah,
That's
that
just
was
fantastic, isn't it?
yeah, and I think it shut a few people up because there's a few people that were saying that the tour school was closed shop and all that stuff. And of course, there was only a few tour cards, only 5. But at least if you win one of those 5, you could play full time. If you win a tour card on the main tour, you don't guarantee to play every week. You're in the reserve list like everybody else. So it shut a few people up because that actually, if you want a tour card, go and win one. There's 5
Yeah.
of them. It's if you're not good enough, you don't win. You don't finish in the first 5. End of story. So I was dead chuffed about that. Yeah, didn't go back again. I'd had enough after that, really.
And then you talked about your corporate business. So what does that involve, Andrew?
Yeah, but I'd started doing golf days for sponsors. That's how it all started when I finished playing, and had a new hip back in almost 2000. I'd had loads of hip issues, and anyway, I finished up with a new hip and started playing again pain-free pretty well, which was fantastic. And then the corporate business sort of got a bit better. I met people playing in tournaments and pro-ams and all the rest of it. And I was always keen on relationship building. And so we built up a decent business that does and hosts corporate events, and pretty well I do that with the help of 2 or 3 other people back here in Cheshire. So 3 people work for me, Michelle, Sandra, and Andy, and without them, it wouldn't exist. And they wheel me out occasionally and just put me. They wheel me out to do clinics and talk to people about golf. No, we've got a good business. It's a really nice little business. I've got some fantastic clients. I've just been up at St Andrews for 3 days for the AMG Links Trophy, which is a 3-day event up at St Andrews, and we've got a very loyal following, and it's great stuff. Really enjoy it.
And is it sort of mostly single days, or can it be anything really? Could it be
No,
almost like a whole week?
well, I'm one of the ambassadors at Turnberry, so we've got a 2-day event at Turnberry. We do the 3-day event at St Andrews. I'm hosting a 5-day trip to South Africa for some clients in early April. So it keeps me busy. I'm out to Monterey next weekend for some clients for 2 days in Portugal. So and we host loads of other stuff for individual companies. So I'm really busy. I speak a bit, do a bit of after dinner stuff. So I'm busy. I feel like I'm not slowing down, and I should be really.
And it's through all this time, Andrew, how's your relationship with the game been? How's it changed over time? You were
Well,
obviously
I'm
only
not as
16 when you started as a pro.
Yeah, and now I'm approaching 70. I can't believe I'm saying those words, but anyway, I'm approaching 70 this summer, and I still love the game, Ross. I genuinely still love the game. I played today with a couple of pals, and I just I don't enjoy playing badly, and I still play pretty well, all right. I played with my brother on at the weekends in the club medals quite a bit and the club
Right.
competitions. Um,
Nice.
and I still hold a handicap of actually point 5 or something, plus point 0.5. I think I'm on plus point 0.2 or thereabouts. And so I'm still play all right mostly. Um, uh, and I still get upset when I don't play all right. But I love the game. I just love talking about the game, and I love coaching the game, and I love seeing people getting a kick out of the game.
And do you still feel the competitive spark as well, that will to win when you're playing?
No, no,
No?
no, I don't really. I mean, I don't like losing, but I don't go all out to no, no. I you know, no, I don't really. I still get nervous when I'm playing. I'm playing at Birkdale soon, and I'll be nervous at playing Birkdale because I'm playing with one of the members off who plays. It's about 70 yards past me. So I don't like playing badly. If I play all right, I'm fine, whether I win or lose. I get more pleasure out of hitting the ball properly, and I still work out, and I'm still pretty fit. And yeah, there we
Fantastic.
go.
Yeah, well, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to hear from you. And if people want to get in touch and find you, where can they find you?
AndrewMurrayGolf.com. We're on Andrew Murray Golf on Instagram, and we're on Facebook and LinkedIn and various other things. We've got a pretty active website that we do all sorts of stuff. So logoed merchandise and corporate hosting days and speaking engagements and do some pretty good trips. I had a great trip this winter to Abu Dhabi, actually. That was in January. It was terrific. So we hosted a dozen people over there. It was fantastic golf, and yeah, we do all sorts of various things. But I'm probably going to take a bit of time out next year and try and slow down and play a bit more golf with pals that I keep promising to play and never have time. So yeah, still love the game, still love talking about it. So I really appreciate you asking me to come on your pod.
No problem. Thanks so much, Andrew. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, Ross. Good to see you.
I'd like to thank Andrew for his time, some brilliant stories in there, and a really honest look at what life in professional golf was actually like, both on and off the course. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening, and if you know someone who loves the game, whether they're just starting out or have been playing for years, send this their way. You can find the show on Instagram at Link by Golf Podcast for future episodes, clips and insights, and if you have a moment to leave a review, it really does help us reach more golfers just like you. I'm Ross McGuire, thanks for listening.
Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style with our executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. Visit www.lomondgolftours.com.